The store is empty. It's been empty for a solid hour. The clock on the wall ticks loudly, each second a small hammer against the silence. It's 5 minutes to 10. 5 minutes until I can lock the doors and pretend this place doesn't exist for a few hours. I'm wiping down the counter for the third time, just to have something to do, when the bell above the door chimes. My stomach sinks. It's him. He's average in every way. Brown hair, plain gray coat, nondescript shoes. He never looks directly at me, just drifts through the aisles like a ghost. He doesn't touch anything. He doesn't carry a basket. He just walks, his steps impossibly quiet on the worn linoleum floor. I've worked the closing shift for 6 months, and for the last 2, he's been here, every single night. Right, at 5 minutes to 10. My coworker Sarah, who works the morning shift, thinks I'm making it up. "You're just tired, man," she said last week, laughing. "Closing messes with your head. You're probably just seeing things." But I'm not. I know what I see. He's as real as the stale smell of coffee that clings to everything in here. The first time he came in, I thought nothing of it. Just a last-minute shopper. He wandered for a bit, then came up to the counter as I was about to announce the store was closing. He had this vacant look in his eyes, like he was looking through me, not at me. "Can I help you find something?" I asked, my standard customer service voice on autopilot. He blinked slowly. "Not yet," he said, his voice soft, almost a whisper. And then he asked the question. The same question he asks every night. "Is it time yet?" I was confused. Time for what? We're closing in a few minutes. He just smiled. Not a happy smile. It was thin, tight, and didn't reach his eyes. "I see. Not yet." And then he turned and walked out, the bell chiming his departure into the dark street. The next night, same thing. 5 to 10. The chime. The quiet walk through the aisles. The approach to the counter. "Is it time yet?" This time I tried to be more direct. "Sir, I don't understand what you're asking. Time for what?" His smile was the same empty look. "Not yet." And he left. Night after night. It became a ritual. A dreadful, unnerving part of my job. I started to feel a knot of ice form in my gut around 9:55 p.m. I'd watch the door, praying he wouldn't show. But he always did. I tried changing things up. One night, I locked the door at 9:54. I stood behind the counter, my heart pounding, watching the entrance. At exactly 9:55, I saw his silhouette through the glass. He stood there, unmoving, for a full minute. Then he raised his hand and tapped on the glass. A single, soft tap. I didn't move. I could barely breathe. He just stood there, his face a pale oval in the darkness, and then he turned and walked away. The next morning, my boss chewed me out. A customer had complained that I'd closed early. I never locked the door early again. The encounters got stranger. He started to look different each night, but only in subtle ways. One night his hair seemed a little longer. The next, he looked older, with faint lines around his eyes that weren't there before. Then he'd look younger again. It was like I was seeing different versions of the same man, all slightly out of sync. Last week, I got desperate. As he approached the counter, I decided I wouldn't let him leave until I got an answer. "Is it time yet?" he asked, his voice a dry rustle. "I'm not playing this game tonight," I said, my voice shaking a little. What do you want? Who are you? For the first time, his expression changed. The empty smile flickered. He looked down at the counter, then back at me. His eyes were so dark. You don't remember? He asked, a hint of something was a disappointment in his tone. Remember what? I've never seen you before you started coming in here. He leaned in slightly, his voice dropping even lower. Every ending has a beginning. You just don't remember yours. He stared at me for a long moment, then straightened up. Not yet. And he was gone. That night, I had a dream. It was more of a flash, a fragmented memory. I was a child, playing hide and seek in a field at dusk. The sky was a deep orange and purple. I was hiding behind a large, old tree. I could hear my friends calling my name, their voices getting farther and farther away. The world went quiet. I felt a chill, a sudden, piercing loneliness. I peeked out from behind the tree. In the distance, a figure stood watching me. A tall, thin silhouette against the dying light. I woke up sweating, my heart racing. It was just a dream, but it felt real. Too real. Tonight, he's making his way down the snack aisle. The air in the store feels heavy, charged. I feel like I'm on the edge of something, a cliff I can't see in the dark. My hands are clammy. I keep glancing at the clock. It's 9:58. He's taking his time tonight. He finally reaches the counter. He looks older tonight. Definitely older. His hair is flecked with gray at the temples, and his face seems tired, worn down. He leans against the counter, and for a moment he looks almost sad. Is it time yet? He asks. His voice is weary. My mouth is dry. I think of the dream, the field, the figure in the twilight. Something clicks in my mind. A piece of a puzzle I didn't know I was solving. The feeling of being left behind. The endless waiting. I look at him, really look at him, and I see a flicker of something familiar in his eyes. A shared loneliness. My shift. My closing shift. It never ends. Sarah comes in the morning, but do I ever see her? No. She finds the store clean, stocked, ready for the day. Does she ever see me? We talk on the phone, we text. But I'm always here at night. And he's always here at the end of it. My voice is a whisper when I finally answer. I don't know. Is it? He looks at me, and for the first time the smile that touches his lips is genuine. It's small and it's sad, but it's real. Almost, he says. Almost. He turns and walks towards the door. But this time, he stops. His hand is on the handle, but he doesn't push it. He looks back at me over his shoulder. You're the one who has to lock up, he says softly. It's your shift. The bell doesn't chime. He doesn't leave. He just fades. Like smoke, he dissolves into the darkness by the door, and then he's gone. The store is completely silent. Not even the clock seems to be ticking anymore. I look down at my hands on the counter. They look pale, translucent under the fluorescent lights. I glance at the security monitor. The screen shows the empty aisles, the counter. But I'm not there. The screen shows an empty space where I'm standing. I look at the clock. It's 10 o'clock. Closing time. I slowly walk to the door, my legs feeling heavy, unreal. I pull out my keys. The metal is cold, but I can't really feel it. I look out through the glass into the empty street. It's quiet. So quiet. In the reflection on the glass, I see myself. But it's not quite me. I look tired, worn, and as I watch, I see my hair looks a little longer, a little grayer. There are faint lines around my eyes that weren't there a moment ago. My hand tightens on the key. I have to lock up. It's my shift. It's always my shift. And as I stand here, staring at my own fading reflection, a single terrifying question echoes in the silence of my mind. Is it time yet? The words cracked something open in me. A memory, not a dream. Orange sky, tall grass, the old tree. My friends' voices fading like a radio turning down. And the figure watching, waiting. I stared at my reflection in the door and suddenly I recognized it not as me now, but as a version of me that had been waiting a long time. I pressed my forehead to the cold glass. Outside, the street was empty. But the air beyond the door wasn't night air. It smelled like dry grass. Like dusk. My hand moved on its own and unlocked the door. The bell didn't chime. Instead, I heard children laughing somewhere very far away. I opened the door. And the store wasn't there anymore. There was no street, no sidewalk, no parking lot. Just a field under a bruised orange sky. The same tree, older than it should be. And beneath it, an old wooden armchair. The lamp beside it glowing softly, impossibly, like it had always been on. And sitting in the chair facing away from me was a man in a plain gray coat. He turned his head just enough for me to see his profile. My profile, older, tired, worn down. He smiled small, sad, real. Almost, he whispered. I felt the key in my hand grow heavy. Not a key, a choice. I looked back over my shoulder. Behind me, the doorway to the store hung in the air like a cutout. Bright fluorescent light spilling through. A place where time didn't move unless I moved it. A place where I could keep waiting or I stepped forward. The grass whispered around my ankles like the sound of paper receipts. The older me stood up and offered me the chair. And as I sat down, my body finally fit into the shape it had been practicing for weeks. My hair a little longer, a little grayer, lines and wrinkles where there hadn't been lines. The lamp warmed the side of my face. The sky darkened. And across the field, I heard footsteps approaching through tall grass. A new silhouette, a new customer. 5 minutes to 10. The bell chimed somewhere I couldn't see. And from my own mouth, soft and automatic, the words rose like a reflex. Is it time yet? My hand hovered on the lock, trembling. I couldn't remember the last time I had been outside. I couldn't remember my apartment, my bed, my life beyond these aisles and these lights. All I had were routines. Wipe the counter, face the shelves, wait for the chime. Wait for him. I turned the deadbolt. The sound echoed like it belonged to a bigger building than this. Then footsteps, real footsteps. From the other side of the store. I spun around so fast my vision swam. At the end of aisle 3, someone stood under the fluorescent glare. Sarah, but she didn't look like Sarah from my texts. She looked sharper, more real. She stared at me like she'd walked into something she wasn't supposed to see. What are you doing here? She asked, voice small. Relief slammed into me so hard it almost made me cry. Sarah, thank God. You can see me. Listen, something's wrong. I've been here every night, and... She took one slow step forward. Her eyes flicked to the security monitor. then to the clock, then back to me. Her face went pale. "There isn't supposed to be anyone here," she whispered. My throat tightened. "What do you mean?" "It's me." Sarah shook her head, slow and terrified. "I open at 6, she said. "I've opened for 6 months. And every morning," she swallowed, "every morning the store is stocked and clean and locked, like someone took care of it." She looked around at the empty aisles like she was seeing them for the first time. "I thought it was you," she said. "I thought you were just doing your job." I forced a laugh that broke in my throat. I'm doing it right now." Sarah's eyes filled, not with tears, with recognition. "You don't remember," she whispered. "No one remembers. Not after a while." She lifted a hand like she wanted to touch my sleeve. But she stopped short like there was an invisible glass between us. Then she looked past me toward the door. "Did he come tonight?" My stomach dropped. "You know about him?" Sarah nodded once. "I see him too," she whispered. "But I see him in the morning. He asks me if it's time yet." My blood turned to ice. You're him," I breathed. Sarah flinched like I'd struck her. "No," she whispered. "I'm you. Just earlier." The lights flickered, and in the reflection of the front doors, I saw my own outline blur thin at the edges like smoke. Sarah backed away, panic rising. "Wait," I begged. "Don't leave, don't." But the bell chimed, not from the door, from inside my skull. And Sarah's voice, now distant, now echoing, became the last thing I heard. "You're the one who has to lock up," she said. "It's your shift." And then I was alone again, at 10 o'clock, every night. Forever. The question hung in my head like smoke. I looked down at the key in my hand and realized I didn't know what it was supposed to open, because the lock was already turned. The deadbolt clicked softly, from the inside. My breath caught. I hadn't moved my hand. The door was locked and somehow, it wasn't me who locked it. I stumbled backward, my heel knocking into the counter. Something slid across the laminate with a dry paper sound. A receipt. The printer hadn't made a noise. The drawer hadn't opened. But there it was, fresh, curled at the edges like it had just been torn off. The printer hadn't made a noise. The drawer hadn't opened. But there it was, fresh, curled at the edges like it had just been torn off. I picked up the receipt with shaking fingers. Blackwood Market, closing shift. No items, no total. Just one line, printed in clean block letters. Time, 9:55 p.m. Customer. Last. Change due. You at the bottom. Where the cashier name should be, it didn't say mine. The fluorescent lights above me flickered once long enough for the store to breathe in the dark. And in that brief, blinking gap I saw it on the security monitor. The aisles weren't empty anymore. They were full of people standing perfectly still between the shelves, faces turned toward the counter waiting. Not shopping, watching. The lights snapped back on. The monitor returned to normal. Empty store, empty counter. But the receipt in my hand stayed real. The paper felt heavier than paper should. I stared at the lock, then at my pale, thinning reflection in the glass. And somewhere behind the door, in the quiet street that didn't sound like a street at all, the bell finally chimed. Not because someone came in, because someone had just left. And I understood what almost had meant. It wasn't about closing time. It was about me. I turned the key again, even though the door was already locked. Because it's my shift. And as the metal clicked, a voice behind me whispered, soft as a receipt tearing free. Not yet.